move into the next section of chapter 2. We're going to be multiplying decimals. Multiply decimals as you would whole numbers. You then place a decimal point in the product. The number of decimal places in the product is equal to the sum of the number of decimal places in the factors. So let's go over those terms that we just got through saying, product and factors. In this example, what number is the product? Mary Elizabeth. The 2100th is the product. And the factors are the 7/10 and the 3/10. So notice in the 7/10 and the 3/10, there's a decimal place here and a decimal place here. How many total decimal places is that? Show me with your fingers. 2. So notice in your answer that we move the decimal over 2 places. So we're going to be doing more practice problems with that on the next slide. But notice my term leading digit. If you are told to round to the leading digit is the first non-zero digit. So in this example of 5.82, what's the leading digit in that number? Class, anybody? 5. So if we're asked to round that number, the 5 looks at the 8 and it rounds up. So if you're asked to round the leading digit, it will be 6. Look at our second example. It's 41/100. The leading digit is the first non-zero digit. So class, what's our first digit in this? What's our leading digit in this number? 4. So you would round it to 4/10. All right, so now we're going to follow the steps that you have been given on the first slide to find the product of these decimals. So the first thing you're going to do is you're just going to multiply as you would if they were 2 whole numbers. So in this first example of A, we multiply as we would whole numbers. Then in our answer, we move the decimal, the total amount of decimal places that are in each of the factors. So how many decimal places is in 8 and 1900? Just tell me. 2. And how many is in the second factor?
2.
So we're going to move the decimal place how many places? 4. So we're going to start at the right and move the decimal place over 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. The decimal is going to go there. So your final answer for this problem is there.
Do you want us to carry it out 10,000 each time?
If it doesn't tell you where to round it, you just give the answer.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do B. Let's do the step 1. You multiply as you would a whole number, then move the decimal place over. In example B, how many decimal places are you going to move the decimal over? 2. So here is the final answer. Once you have checked B, go ahead and move to C. Notice in C, I just multiplied the first factor by 3 because the rest of the answer will be in zeros. So I'm going to move the decimal place over 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 5. So I would like for you to put a place value in the ones place. And there's your final answer. D is 9 9/10 cubed. So as you can recall, it's the same as 9 9/10 times 9 9/10 times 9 9/10. So after you've multiplied 9 9/10 times 9 9/10 and checked your answer, you move your decimal place over 2. Now you take the 98 100ths. You're going to multiply it times 9 9/10. after you have worked out times the final 99 tenths, you're going to move the decimal place over 3 places because there's 2 places in this factor, 1 in this one. So we'll move the decimal over 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So when you are adding numbers, for example, in B, do not add any decimal places to the whole numbers. Just leave it as it is. I'll let you see the answer to D again. Now in E, what are we going to do first in E? Yes, Mary Elizabeth?
Multiply 6 and 8 tenths times 9 and 800.
And then once we get that answer, what are we going to do? Yes?
Add 10 and 72 hundredths to your answer.
Correct. And remember, when we're adding decimals, after we get our answer for the product, we line up the decimals. So go ahead and do the first part, and then add 10 and 72 hundredths to that. Any questions on the steps that we took on E? Yes?
I used to line up a decimal when you're multiplying. Does it measurements are up if you do it?
Mm-hmm. There's no need to line them up. You only put the numbers in if you want to put the longer number on top and the shorter number, but don't line them up because it will begin to confuse you. The only time you need to concern yourself with the decimal is after you've multiplied the number and total up the decimal places in each of the factors. You only line up the decimal places when you're adding or subtracting. All right, so in these 2 examples, A and B, we're going to find the area of the given square or rectangle. Please make a note in your notes that we're using the unit of inches. Inches has been left off of your notes, so write down inches for B. All right, so let's look at A. We're going to find the area. Area, you multiply the length times the width, so do that. Now after you've checked your answer, your full complete answer will be 18 and 84 inches squared. Yeah. Okay, there's our answer for multiplying or finding the area of the rectangle. Let's do B. What type of shape is B? Who can tell me?
Square.
It's a square. How do you know it's a square?
Because
And there's only
There's one side. So what's our formula for finding the area? Yes, honey?
times the number times itself.
Or S squared. So it's going to be 10 and 45 hundredths times 10 and 45 hundredths because it is a square and all the sides are the same. After you've multiplied 10 and 45 hundredths times 10 and 45 hundredths, we're going to move our decimal place to the left 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our final answer being inches squared. Alright. Now we're going to use this in a problem solving. We're going to do finding the tapestry perimeter and area. The Bayeux tapestry was created in the late 11th century. In a rectangle, it's a rectangle measuring 70 meters by 498,000 meters. What is the tapestry's perimeter and area? So I'm going to remind you of what the formula is for perimeter. P is equal to 2 of the lengths plus 2 of the widths. And our area is equal to your length times your width. So we put perimeter as 2 times 70, which is the length, and we multiply 2 times the width. So you'll notice off to the side when you multiply 2 times 498,000, you decimal over 3 places. So our perimeter, 140 and 996 meters. which is going to be the length times the width. If you'll notice, when I'm multiplying the length times the width, I just multiplied 498 thousandths by 7. And when I got that answer, I added a 0 to it because we were multiplying it times 70. From here, you move the decimal place over 3 places. So the area is 34 and 86/100 meters squared. You can keep the 0 on at the end, or you can take it off. They're both the same answer. All right, on our last example, we're talking about comets. Halley's Comet takes about 23 600 times long as the Nix Comet to orbit the Sun. The Nix Comet takes about 3 3/10 years. About how long does Halley's Comet orbit the Sun? Round to the nearest 10th, which means once you get your answer, you're going to round it to the nearest 10th. So go ahead and set this up. Multiply 23 600 times 3 3/10. Decimal will go here, and as our instructions say, round to the nearest 10th. $76 1/10 years is your final answer. Again, if you like to keep the 0 at the end, you can. But please make note that when you read your directions, follow directions about how they tell you to round the answer when you're multiplying with decimals.